Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today is, well, it's time to service the reel that I purchased at a garage sale. And this is what I'm going to call my shoemaker's child. Because, well, these are typically the reels that run good mechanically, look, well, worn out. And those are ones that find their way onto my fishing poles. As long as they can run mechanically, I really don't concern myself too much with the cosmetics of a reel. I've had a couple of comments come in that say, why don't you repaint the reel and all of that other stuff. I would rather let the reel tell its story about how it's been fishing. And in this case, the owner who was selling it at the garage sale told me he had upgraded his equipment and didn't want a lot for this. Actually, the cost of this with a 9-foot surf pole that was attached to it was about the price of the braid. He tells me it's Power Pro braid. So for the price of that, I took a chance. It is noisy, but not terribly noisy, and it does have its wear, which you would expect. Been in the surf, you can see it's got probably, I would call this probably in a boat, rocking back and forth in a boat, hitting the pole holder and the side rails. But other than that, mechanically it seems sound, and the owner was quite upfront about it. He says, I haven't serviced the reel since I bought it. I guess testimony to Penn. So we're going to take this apart. We'll see what I got from my my purchase. Hopefully we're going to put it right back on that 9-foot pole that I got. It is a Tika pole. And, well, I just hope that we can take it fishing and enjoy it for this fall striper season. It is the Spinfisher V 7500. The Spinfisher Vs, that generation, was discontinued in 2018 when they came out with the Spinfisher 6. I think they're on the Spinfisher 7 now. So the reel is at least 7 years old without service, possibly as much as 10 years old without it. So it's probably time to take it apart, clean it up, see what we got inside, and work on it to get it fishing and give it a second chance. If you like these kinds of videos, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel. My channel covers all kinds of fishing and fishing-related items. And, well, you might find a reel in there that you own that you want to learn how to tune up. You might find a curiosity in there that you want to learn more about. Or simply, maybe you're just interested in fishing in general. And I try to cover those topics as well. So I would encourage you to subscribe. If you do subscribe, well, you'll see what I'm posting, and you'll be able to determine whether that's a reel that you would like to learn more about. You can see that this reel was used in the surf. There's sand inside here. And, well, sand is an enemy of fishing reels. So typically you're going to want to do your best to get the old sand and debris out of there. And I'm suspecting that some of the noise that I heard in here is probably just that. Somehow we got some hair tangled up in here too. I'm not quite sure how the hair wound up in there, but it did. Maybe we'll do some genetic testing on that hair, huh? What do you think? All right. You can, this is on a pivot. You can make sure that it's clean. Just a drop of oil. Stick my old oil right here. Work that back and forth. And when I take my pieces and parts out, the large parts I can put on my my desk. The smaller parts go into a parts tray. I use a fast food container. And that helps me keep track of where the pieces and parts are. So then when it's time to put them back together again, I kind of know where they go and where to look for them. And I recommend that you have a parts strategy before you get too far down the road and taking the parts off. All right, on the big button up top here, this tells us that we have HT100 drag washers in it. That is a Penn version of the Carbon Tex washers. It's a hybrid washer. It's a fabric washer. We'll service this at the end. We'll take a look. Kind of curious how those things have held up. Fella tells me it caught an awful lot of fish. Okay, this is probably one of the reasons why I'm hearing the noise. It does have the slammer drag underneath, so the drag washers don't get a direct exposure to the water, but there's sand in there. So we're going to shut this off. We're going to go to the sink, use the water tap. That pressure should be enough to blow that sand out, and then we'll be right back. Okay, the simple water pressure did the trick. We did use a little paper towel. We got all of the sand out there now, and I'm curious about how it spins. Yeah, it's not that noisy without that top layer, so we're going to say a lot of that noise that we were hearing was simply the sand rubbing against the rotor, because this one's pretty quiet now. That's good, right? Okay, let's set that aside. Let's get into the case. So I'm surprised, never surprised, if you will, when I hear folks tell me that they haven't ever serviced a reel. A lot of folks take the approach that use it until it breaks, then replace it. Obviously, I'm not a fan of that, but I do understand that people do it. And, well, I don't recommend that. I recommend that you service your reel on an annual basis, whether it's just that you've gone out 3 times over the year, or 30 times out of the year, or 300 times over the year. Because one of the things that happens when you don't service the reel, the screws tend to get the salt in there, and even though they're stainless screws, they do become embedded in this because of the debris that accumulates around it. Just trying to find a little wider screwdriver here with a flat blade. See if I can't break that. Break the hold of it, not break the screw. Yeah, it's they're not easy. So it also tells you that it's been a while. Okay, let's take the 4 of these off. Now that they're loosened. And the other thing that I recommend, and obviously we've seen salt on this case and we've seen sand under it, is to flush your reel with fresh water after each trip. Now it seems easy enough to do, right? You clean it up when you come back, right? Whether it's simply washing your hands or taking a shower or hosing down a boat or whatever, just include the reel in that cleanup. Just hit it with a spray of fresh water. That will get most of the stuff off the case and out of harm's way. And well, sand is on the beach. So if you've taken the time to pack up at the end of the day, just throw this in a bucket of water. You don't even have to hose it down. All right, I think we should just be able to lift this off now. Normally I probably would pay a little bit closer attention to the case itself in terms of scarring it, but let's just say it'll add one more beauty mark to this. I'm using a blade here to separate the case. Again, if it's been a while since the reel was opened, you can imagine it's going to take something to get it out. But we do have some progress here. There we go. Now, this is what happens when you don't service a reel for a very long period of time. There's 2 things going on in this case right now. One of them is just some minor corrosion on some of these metals. The second one is it's all dried grease. So that will not perform very well, and it'll give us that noise that we were hearing. So why did I jump at this opportunity to do this other than to provide a video for the channel? Well, one of the reasons is these bearings are sealed bearings. That's right, sealed. That means that the water shouldn't be getting into those. So if you have to buy one of these bearings, they're about $20 or $25. I believe there's 4 of them in a reel. That would give you cause enough alone to go buy another reel if you needed $100 worth of bearings. But if you know that it shouldn't be a bearing failure, and you hear a noise like we've been hearing, you got to attribute it either to general wear on the reel, or in this case, a whole combination of events here, including it's very dry. So, and of course, knowing the owner, even though you don't know the reel, knowing the owner and having him tell you that he never serviced it, well, it gives you some clues in terms of whether you're able to repair it or not. Interesting little crosswind block on this. This does have a bearing over here. Bearing or bushing, I'm not sure what. I've actually found failures on these reels because this has come out of round, but hopefully not on this reel. I took the 2 screws out that are retaining the axle. I'm going to hold the crosswind block, pull the axle up. It came out nice and easy. That's a test that you want to do on the way out. If it's grabbing or if it's hard to pull out, you most likely have a bent axle shaft. Hard to imagine this thing bending. Look at the diameter of this thing. Very, very solid axle shaft. That goes into the part sheet. With the axle shaft out, we can remove the main gear. And again, we can see there's no grease on the gear itself, even less on the crosswind gear and block. And all of this needs to be cleaned up. I've also had a failure on this reel. Here, there's a screw that holds the oscillation gear in. I've had that screw actually rip off the back case. Now, this is a metal case, so it's kind of hard to do, but I have seen that happen. Not sure why. So you can see we got a lot of cleanup to do in that case. Got a lot of cleanup to do in the gears, and well, we might as well take the rest of this off before we get too far down the line. Some people like to work in sub-segments. I kind of do that. I kind of work on the inside of a reel, maybe then move up top and like. I don't take everything off at once normally. A lot of folks take everything away before they start working on the reel. I generally like to clean and take care of each part as it comes off the reel, noting any issues with the parts. If you have noticed that there's a broken part, for example, or anything like that, you're going to know that you need to replace that part. So you want to clean, you want to inspect, you want to get rid of the old, out with the old, in with the new kind of a thing. All right, that looks pretty good. Put that into the box. Do the same thing here. Now, why do I work on a paper towel? I work on that paper towel because I don't want to transfer the dirt and debris that comes off of these pieces onto the next part or project. So I generally like to keep it as you see here. And when you take this oscillation gear off, inspect the teeth. That's the number one failure point on an oscillation gear. If you've got a skip in the performance of your reel, it may be that you've got a worn or a broken tooth. This one is, I'm going to call this pot metal. I'm not quite sure exactly what it is, but it's corroded, but it's not corroded in the places that matter. All right, check the teeth, make sure that they're not scarred, broken, dented, or otherwise. And a good way to do that, take a hard bristle brush. This is a dollar store brush. You can use a toothbrush if you like, or anything else that's going to be able to clean out the channels for the old greases. And that looks good. All right, put that in there with the screw that we removed. We're going to do the same thing on the main gear now. I'm going to use a little bit of penetrating oil. You've seen me do that already. Penetrating oil just helps to break up some of that old grease. Pile of old grease doing absolutely no good. The grease has been thrown off of the teeth by centrifugal force, nests in the ring behind the gear, and well, no value there. Take that bearing off. Again, this is a sealed stainless steel bearing, but it's sealed. You can't get anything in there, so those should run well. And then we've got, well, another part of the reel that's got grease on it that's useless. The face of the gear. I don't know what this gear is made of. The modern ones now have, the modern Spinfishers, the 7s, they have a higher quality gear than these. This would be comparable, I guess, to what was available at the time, but a lot of manufacturers now have used these high alloy gears. This is not one of them. I don't know if it's stainless or not. Don't have my magnet to check. All right, clean that up. That looks good. Check the teeth on both of them. They're fine. I'm going to do two things here. I'm going to squirt the case down. Let that penetrating oil kind of do its thing. We'll go up top here and take the rotor off now. If you are working on this reel for the first time, if you don't know the reel, you need to to do two things. One of them, I always recommend taking pictures of the reel. Those pictures will help you out in the jam. If you get stuck along the way and you don't know where you're going with the reel, or you've forgotten how the reel piece or part goes, you can always refer back to your pictures. So take pictures at a critical juncture. That will help you. The other thing I recommend is, before you even start, go get the schematic of the reel. They're available on the internet. One of the places you can get it is mysticparts.com. And if you get that schematic, that'll tell you what you're going to be in for as you go to work on the reel. Okay, that should come up and off now. There you go. There's the rest of the noisemaker. It's all sand. This reel is going to wind up really nice in the end. Right now I wouldn't call it really nice. And I'm just hopeful, yeah, that this is the eccentric spring, and hopefully that should work again. I'm just going to remove this eccentric. So this is another example of what to expect when you buy at a yard sale or a garage sale. Frequently, you're going to find that something ran into a problem, the fella or gal didn't want to fix the problem. They just simply decided to go buy new and sell the reel. So this one obviously got a lot more in there than we were bargaining for. If you get it on the one side, typically it's going to be on the other side. What does that mean? It means we're going to shut the camera off for a minute, go back to that tap, turn on the water, let that water pressure run this out, and we'll be right back. Okay, so much improved, clean underneath. While we were away, I did take the penetrating oil and sprayed the seams to make sure that it works nicely and that there's no grind associated with that. So, onward. Let's take off the retaining collar. And again, this is basically cleaning. We haven't seen any broken parts. We've seen parts that are not pretty. They're missing their paint. Sign of a lot of use, but I haven't seen them wear. Quite honestly, I think it's going to spin nicely. Once we've removed all of that sand and old greases and the like and put a fresh coat in, I think it's going to be what I expected it to be when I purchased it. So, word of caution, don't buy a reel like this and expect to just take it fishing. I generally recommend it if you're buying a used reel before you go fishing to service that reel. Why? You never know what surprises lurk. I mean, I very well could have easily thrown this into the bed of the truck, said it's striper season, let's go, grab the plugs and move on. That would not have worked out very well. Okay, why is the rotor back on the reel? Well, you saw me struggling trying to get that bearing and pinion gear assembly out, and I didn't have a good grip, so I like to put the rotor back on. I put the rotor back on, make sure you have full turns on your nut, make sure that the collar is removed, that's what we took off, and then generally speaking use this as a kind of like a doorknob. There you go. So it might have come out easier, but I didn't have the leverage. So use your rotor as a way to gain the leverage. Certainly makes it a lot easier than trying to pull it up by this little thing, and that's what I was trying to do there. All right, all of the components are now out. So let's take care again. We'll remove the collar and sleeve. We want to make sure we have the sequences down. Again, these are sealed bearings, so you shouldn't have an issue here with the bearing performance itself. At least that's what I was betting on. So we'll see. If I do have a bearing issue, I'm going to move over to ceramic bearings. Now they're not watertight, which these are, but what you get with the ceramics is you don't get the rust. Okay, last of the cleanup then. Take that bristle brush again, pull through on your pinion gear and inspect. They're all good. Fresh grease. I'm using Penn Precision reel grease. It's a fishing reel grease. I only encourage you to use fishing reel greases when you service your reel. I've had reels come in with everything from car axle grease to Vaseline to a sprayed on white lithium grease. Youch. That's probably the worst one that I've had. And well, fishing reel greases just, quite honestly, don't cost that much. They're designed for fishing reels, and as a result, I would tell you, go ahead and get them. All right, I want to wipe off the dirt that was on the inner collar or spacer. This is your anti-reverse. I'm going to wipe down the inner part of that with a cotton swab. You do need to pay attention when you're taking these on and off. This one has a white base to it that goes down. The metal side shield goes up. If you put it on upside down, the reel will only work in reverse. Here's our collar with the other bearing in it. I'm going to take Chris's advice. Chris is a channel viewer of ours, watches nightly. And he said when you find yourself with metal on a metal case, wouldn't hurt you to put a little bit of grease on the outer rim of that collar. We're going to do just that as we go to reinstall. That's to keep it slippery, I guess, from and allow the pieces to not kind of jam up. It was a little tight getting that one out. Put a little grease in there. It's not going to spin, but it should hold tight. All right, let's put all of that back together inside the case. I'm going to just put it to there for now because I just noticed I still have a little bit of grease on that top carrier, so let's get that out. And that penetrating oil has softened up all the old dirt and grease on the case, as you can see. So let's clean the rest of this up while we're at it. So we mentioned sand is a enemy of this reel. This reel is pretty well sealed. It's got a rubber gasket that's running all the way around here. It's got the sealed bearings. I'm not sure of the IPX rating on that. I imagine it's somewhere in terms of good. Maybe a 4, maybe a 6, I don't know. The sealed bearings will contribute to the seal. Didn't look like there was any evidence of sand in here, so the case has got to be sealed pretty well too. All right, one little bit more of this. I do go through a lot of cotton swabs. In this case, I can actually say Q-tips because I am using a Q-tip. But if it was a cotton swab, not Q-tip, I guess the cotton swab police will be after me. All right, good. Let's put this top back in then. You got to put it in, make sure that your top seal is in as well. Well, welcome back. You may not know that I had gone, but we're in the next morning now. Unfortunately, after I had tightened this up, I got a call, needed to leave for a little while, and decided that we would pick the project up in the morning. So if the editing isn't quite right, I do apologize in terms of that. So where we left it off was we were going to reinstall the backup part of the anti-reverse. That's the secondary one here. The first one, the primary, is the anti-reverse clutch that we installed. And now we'll pick it up with this. So here's your collar. Your collar has two sides. One is a small side, and then the other one has a little bit of an inset here in the groove. I don't know if you can see that clear enough, but it's there. And you want to take the spring that we have with the right angle up and set that spring into the groove on the lower part of this little carrier. Just like that. And it might be hard to see. And then we have the other piece that comes in from the top. Has a pinhole right here, and that's where that right angle is going to go. Just like that. And then it seats over the pinion gear. That's the main gear just fell out, don't worry about it. Over the pinion gear, and then the back end of the claw has a little hook there. So when you're spinning forward with this, everything is going to run fine because it's pulling it in and off and away from that claw. When you go to spin it backwards, it's going to push it out. Okay, it wasn't the main gear, it was our crosswind block. It'll probably fall out again before we get to put the axle shaft in. Next up then, we want to take the rotor. We've cleaned that up. I still see a little bit of sand in here. This has been quite a sand project. As you saw, there was quite a host of it. And I keep finding the grit every now and then. I'm just going to take that brush one more time. I'm just off the bench now. Just pulling through on it. The tap water did a great job of getting the majority of this out of here. It does seem to be just a little bit more. Okay, so I think what we want to do is, next let's take this bail on this side off, just to check to make sure that if there is sand that's in this side of the arm, that well, we take care of that. So I'll also show you how to reset the bail spring if needed. Sometimes you can just, if there is sand in here, you can just clean it out without taking the spring assembly off, but we'll show you it. You want to remove the bail wire from the arm. Don't remove the arm from the rotor unless you need to. If we get to that point, we'll show you it. Now we can pull that plate off of here. Okay, there's a little bit of dirt and debris in here, so let's go ahead and do the whole piece. I was kind of thinking that there would be, since we had to rinse everything off anyway. Oh boy, that's stuck. Well, we're going to do our best to clean this without taking that arm off then. Okay, back to the water tap. Okay, once again, the water did a nice job of cleaning out what sand was in there. It's easy enough to understand why it got in there. This is the bottom hole for your travel on the X bar or Z bar, and well, if it goes underwater and gets sanded, it can come in there. Let's just put that back together. It's unfortunate that that top screw seems to be stuck in place, so sometimes you just need to make a decision that to save the reel, you may just need to let that one go. All right, let's put the cover cap back on. There's a bearing in this one. I'm not sure if that's sealed or not, so we're just going to throw some oil on there for the line guide. Put the line guide back in. Set that onto your arm and bring your tie down screw into place. All right. So we can feel confident about that. Let's go try putting this rotor back on now. This is a manual bail. For those of you that are, well, it's not a manual bail. The newer one is the manual bail. This does have the trip ramp in it. So the newer version has the manual bail. Let's put that on. Take the screw, put this back on. Rotor nut. Probably drop that piece out again. So lots of work on there. Dropped it out now. Some things are just predictable. Okay, bring that back in here. Whoops, that's a whoops. There's a washer that goes under here. Just looking in my parts tray. Another reason why that parts tray is a good idea. Bring the washer back on. These are to hold the rotor nut from vibrating loose and have your rotor rock as a result. So they give you the washer to hold it tight, and then they give you a tie-down clamp, which you may remember from quite a few minutes ago now. When we took this reel apart. That goes in. Then we have our tie-down clamp goes on. And we have our tie-down screw. Let's take these out for a moment. Two things. Let's finish this one first. We have two screws here. One of these screws belongs in the oscillation gear piece. Just want to make sure I have the right one. This last night when I was putting that in, I left it without doing that. Put it on now. That's the right one there, yes. Yes, that's the right one. So then this is the correct one for the tie-down ring. Any questions, go consult your schematic. It will show you which pieces go where. Okay, now we can get to that axle. Wow, it's been quite an effort. All right, this has been on a few times now and off a few times. This goes reseats here. We've cleaned our axle shaft. There's some light grease on here. I'll just kind of spread it around. This comes in through the top hole, bring it through, mesh it with your crossline block. Make sure that the two holes align. Go to your parts tray and get those two, and we're very close here now to completing this effort. So if you're still watching me and you're still unsubscribed, I would encourage you to subscribe so that you can watch more videos like this and learn about the histories of reels, who made them and when, how to take them apart and how to service them. All right, here's your second one. We have one more bearing. There's a shim that goes underneath the bearing. Then the bearing goes on. And we can grab our side plate. That can go on next. Make sure that your seal is seated and that you get a nice solid snap where your side plate is nice and tight. We have 4 screws that are your side plate screws. These had some trouble coming out, so I'm just going to put a light dab of grease on there, just like we did on that top bearings, just so it grabs but doesn't corrode underneath. 4 of these go on. I like to put them on in an X pattern. That X pattern kind of keeps the side plate square so that it doesn't bind by putting too much pressure on one side. Kind of distributes out the pressure on this. So that's the second. There's your third screw. Little dab will do you. Bring that down here. Then we'll put the fourth one on. You know, this has been a long video. I think what I'm going to do is I'll do a separate video on how to service the slammer drag system, where I can spend the time to show you how to do that. And well, it applies to more than just this reel, so I think that maybe we'll do that rather than making this an hour-long video here. It's been quite a project. Sometimes you get more than you bargained for in a reel. Again, I knew I wasn't going to lose on this reel because the cost of the reel and the rod was just about equal to the cost of the braid that's on this reel. So no big deal there, but we will take the opportunity to see how we did. Take our handle, bring that in, tighten that up. Now, I think initially in my mind, I'm thinking I'm going to hear a little bit of a sandy grind somewhere along the line. Whenever you're dealing with the sand, no matter how hard you try, every now and then a piece gets left behind. You saw how we had to reset the back end of the rotor where the grooves were, because even though we did what we thought was a thorough flush, we still left some behind. So my thinking is that somewhere along here we may hear a little bit, but not a lot, of that sand in here, and that probably will go to dust pretty quickly. Okay, so what did we do? Wow, we did a lot. Still have to service the drag washer set. I'll show, as I mentioned, I'll do that as a separate video to kind of save time here and also show more people how to do that. But we brought a reel in that we got as part of a fishing reel combination. We knew that it had a lot of cosmetic wear on it. We expected that it was going to have internal wear. We were told that the reel had never been serviced since new, and the last time this reel was produced new was 2018, so we knew it was at least 7 years old since it's been serviced. We expected to see a lot of dried grease and dirt. There was a noise associated with it, and well, we were just thinking, initially we were thinking maybe it could be bearings, but it's not, because these are sealed bearings, and we tested each one of them and they're quiet. I do expect to still hear some kind of noise in here. I'll generally think maybe it could be gear, could be some residual sand that you just couldn't clear out, could be a bunch of things, but I'm thinking that there will be a little bit of noise, but it should be a lot less quiet. And we took half a beach out from underneath the rotor here, so we've cleaned it up. I'm absolutely certain that this reel will be able to go fishing again. I'm going to take it fishing for the striped bass. So that run starts in about a week or two, and I'm ready to go with this one. I have no reservations whatsoever about putting it back on a Tika rod and getting it out there in the water, seeing what we can catch. Well, let's give it a test, see how we did. Oh, wow. What can I say? Oh, wow. It's a nice spinner. There's a little bit of rotation noise, but, you know, after 7 to 10 years, whatever and whenever this was purchased, you would expect to hear it, but it's an even noise. It's not a clunk clunk or a squeak or anything like that. It's up top. I'm not worried about that. And the anti-reverses are holding fine. I do have my questions about the bail. And, well, the modern Penn Spinfisher 7500s have a manual bail. This one we noticed had a trip ramp on it, but it also noticed when I was looking at it that it is well worn. So you know what? I think I'm just going to continue to do what they do today with the modern ones. When you go to cast, flip it open. When it's time to set, flip it back. That's probably what I'm going to do. Well, I hope you've enjoyed it. If you like this one, please like it. Again, if you're still with me and haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you're with me and you have subscribed, thank you very much. I do appreciate the subscriptions. Hey, it doesn't cost you anything. You get to see what's coming up next most of the time. It'll be part of your preferred videos that they launch for you. You'll see what I'm working on, and well, you'll be able to learn about the fishing reels, who made them, when they were made, how they were made, how they're used, and more importantly, have some fun fixing old reels, giving them a second chance. Before I leave, I want to thank our first responders, our police, fire, safety, rescue, everybody involved in keeping us out of harm's way. I want to thank you for watching, for making this channel what it is, and I want to wish everybody a great day. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle.